Alrighty, so today we are going over some fashion souls, or fashion rings? What should we call it? Anyways, this will of course include some endgame armor sets. I think just one. So yeah, do be careful, there will be some spoilery stuff. Anyways, let's get started. Alrighty, so first off, we got the Shining Horned Headband, the Rotten Grave Keeper Cloak altered, the Bandit manchettes, which can also be swapped out for the Sorcerer manchettes. Gives off the same look, the only difference is the Bandit one is lower on the hands and has blood on it. And the Rotten Duelist Greaves. I like this armor set as it gives off this weird borderline cultist vibe. This is one of the favorite armor sets I like. After all, this armor set has the most views on my channel. The video where I show how to get the Rotten Grave Keeper Cloak. Why can't I say that? Anyways, next up. Alrighty, so everyone knows this is how Malenia looks like, but what about her second form? You could just remove the chest piece, and that's as close as you'll ever get to her second form. But there is a way to make it look slightly nicer, and that's using the Rotten Grave Keeper Cloak. It'll give it more red accents. This is basically just, trying to mimic Malenia's second form, She loses all of the cloth pieces of her armor, but she keeps the golden pieces because, I guess it's harder to rot metal than it is clothing, or regular clothing, yes. Anyways, moving on to some of my favorite ones. A very similar armor set, the Traveler's Cloak, the Malenia Gauntlets, and the Malenia Greaves. Because the Traveler's Clothing, this is where the spoilers start coming in even more. Because the Traveler's Clothing is picked up all the way in her kingdom of FIL. Because the armor set is picked up in FIL Brace of the Hailgru Tree, I decided why not put it together with Malenia's gear to make it look like one of Malenia's daughters. After all, we have that one questline with the girl who also seems to be of Malenia's bloodline and also uses a prosthetic arm. Next up, we have this armor set, the Knox Swordstress, not the Knox Night Maiden, as the Night Maiden cannot be altered. The Knox Swordstress armor, the Queen's bracelets, and the Traveler's boots. It does work fairly nicely with this, however, it is a bit heavier looking compared to using the altered version. This is one of my favorite armor sets and the one that I've been using at the moment. I have not found a decent crown looking item. I think it would look best with a crown. Sadly, there is no really crown type of helmet I've found. So a thing about this armor set is if you put on small gauntlets like the Queen's bracelets, Sorcerer manchettes, Bandit manchettes, these sleeves will stay the same. If you put on very large gauntlets like the Traveler's manchettes, they will be put upwards. That is the same as the really big and bulky gauntlets. So there's only two settings for the arm pieces. It's slightly pushed up and then all the way down. But yes, this is one of my favorite ones to run at the moment. Next up, we have the Deathbed Dress, the Queen's bracelets, and the Traveler's boots. As the Traveler's boots looks the best when you start walking around. Originally, I used the Noble's trousers. Where are they? Here they are. However, they have this baggy look, if you notice, directly above the boots, which is why I started using the Traveler's boots instead, as they are tight-fitting and they are high boots. Anyways, the Deathbed Dress, Queen's bracelet, and Traveler's boots gives off the vibe of a rich people 80s, 90s party. Shoot, what was the movie called? I don't know why, but it feels like this is the type of armor set that would show up in The Great Gatsby. Is that 1900s? I don't know. Time does not flow well in my brain. So next you have an armor set inspired by Neo 2, some of the enemies. Or well, it could even be based off of Japanese movies, but I can't remember any of the names of the Japanese samurai movies that I watched. But anyways, it is basically the prisoner's clothing, the Land of Reed gauntlets, and the Land of Reed greaves. Fairly easy armor set to get, and one that you can get quite early in the game. Kind of. Next up we have the Marias mask, the Snow Witch robe altered, and the Snow Witch skirt. I don't know why, but this feels oddly very familiar. I feel a little scared that it feels familiar, as it kind of gives off, it could give off both a royal look, but it can also give off a kind of cultist vibe when you think about it. The Snow Witch skirt can be changed to something else like Traveler's boots, Knox greaves, as the Knox greaves will complement it. However, the Knox greaves are heavily armored, so keep that in mind. Next up, sticking to the kind of cult vibe, we have the Shining Horned Headband, the Astrologer robe altered, the Traveler's manchets, and the Traveler's boots. As you can tell, I use the Traveler's gear quite a lot, as I like how tight-fitting it looks. Compared to some of the other armor sets, like if we use the Noble's trousers, we get the baggy look again, but that's not always a bad thing. Next up, we have the Izhis mirror helm, the Sanguine Noble robe, Radahn's gauntlets, and Radahn's greaves. This armor set gives off a kind of royal vibe. After all, it's using the Noble's chest piece. Of course, we can always change the Izhis mirror helm to something even more noble looking. Like the Radahn's red mane complements it really well. However, you kind of start to look funny when you start running around. So some other versions I could think of was the Veteran's helm, but it doesn't really fit the color scheme as much. However, the Melania's winged helmet does, and it kind of looks like the hair kind of gives oh my gosh. Kind of gives off the look that the Melania's headgear has very long hair, even though the Melania's headgear isn't as long as actual Melania's hair, which is like all the way down. This one is a fairly simple. This one is a fairly simple armor set, the Albridge Robe altered, the Traveler's manchets, and the Traveler's boots. This one you must use the Traveler's manchets, as if you were to use something else. Oh, okay, never mind. I guess you can also use the Knox Monk bracelets, but if you were to use the Traveling Maiden gloves, they do not cover the wrists. That's not the wrist. Forearm. I think that's called the forearm. It does not cover the forearm area, which still shows the red stone. So I use the Traveler's manchets, or, now that I know, the Knox Monk bracelets. This armor reminds me of the NPC from Dark Souls 3, who taught us magic. Next up we have the Details and Pixels armor that a lot of people I've seen, oh my gosh. The armor set I have seen a lot of people wearing already, which is the Radahn's red mane with the Veteran's armor. And then the Radahn gauntlets and Radahn greaves. These two I have seen a lot of people interchange, but the common thing is the Radahn's red mane, Radahn's red mane helm, and the Veteran's armor. I really like this armor set. I feel like I'll make my teammates lag when I wear this though. Next up we have the Great Horned Headband, the Marionette Soldier armor, Sorcerer manchets, and Sorcerer leggings. I really like using this armor set when I use the move, the Ashes of War. Yes. the Ashes of War, where you hold out your shield and you just start bum rushing people and charging them. Suits the headpiece very well, and the armor set I feel like just suits the headband. Anyways, that is all the armor sets that I could think of at the moment using the armor sets that I have collected so far. So thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and please remember to like and subscribe.